So I've come to the point where I just realized that a lot of folk who are PlayStation fans, I have to just tell them to relax. Okay? I get it. You take pride in the ecosystem that you play on. No one, well, not me, anyways, I'll speak for myself. I'm not really worried about that platform. That platform does have weaknesses. And at the end of the day, I show you those weaknesses. And the best you can do is either see them for what they are or refute the weaknesses or acknowledge them. But it doesn't mean that it's going to change your mind. If it changes your mind, great. But at the end of the day, I have to offer you alternative solutions. And I've already offered the PC platform as a better platform. But not many people are going to take that. No, but not many people are going to want to go on PC. However, we have to be honest enough to call the challenges and problems and weaknesses. And one of them is money hatting. In an attempt to somewhat talk about this, dwindling of exclusivity from third-party developers with PlayStation, one of my audience members said a few things that I thought was very interesting. Do you know what they said? They said, and I quote, I'll try my best to read this to you guys. Final Fantasy 16 sold over 3 million copies on the almighty state Sony PlayStation in 1 week. Okay, we get it. You're a PlayStation fan. Relax. Do not worship a box. I mean, that's straight up idolatry. Calm down. Then they continued. Currently on Steam, it has 22,000 peak players and a release on the worthless X-Flop. They're talking to you, Xbox, will be a waste of time, money, energy, and resources. The worthless X-Flop don't buy games, so you really think Square will go multi-plat, and that's going to matter. I tried to parse that as best as I could. So let's go ahead and break this statement down. Number one, the copy that is actually on Steam is a late copy. Usually, when games go late to a platform, it doesn't usually sell as big as the original day one. We can take examples of games that came from Xbox to the PlayStation, like Hi-Fi Rush, that did not do just as well. The one that was quite surprising, which actually surprised everybody, was Sea of Thieves. But even after Sea of Thieves had already sold over 8 million copies in its presence on Xbox and all the platforms, it sold 1 million on PlayStation after many years. Had it been that the game had received the same amount of support like, say, No Man's Sky and so on and so forth, maybe it would have done well on the very first day. So usually launch is where you get your money from. Number two, you're trying to bypass the fact that the PlayStation version of this game and the PC version of this game are not the same. They're selling you the PC version with all the DLC for less money than you paid for the base game on PlayStation 5, which that version is actually poorly done in the sense that the visuals and so on and so forth are not necessarily on par with what you would see on even a mid-range PC after mods have been added and then the game's optimization is basically taken into account. What's crazy is they use the PlayStation 5 Pro to show a better version of this game, which is just absolutely asinine if you were to just ask me. I mean, I just really don't know what's going on that front. But again, let's just go ahead and just leave that. And then for someone to say it's going to be a waste of time, energy, resources to port a game to Xbox, I want to go ahead and ask you, how much does it cost to port a game to Xbox, since you say it's going to be a waste of time, energy, and resources? Because you don't know. I don't know, but I'm asking you who've made the claim that it's going to be a waste, what, you think the waste is going to look like. So basically, you've engaged in what they call making it up. So I just want to, in a sense, say this is a very interesting, frame of mind that a lot of these folk have. Instead of you, in my opinion anyways, to look at the situation and say, well, Square Enix themselves said that their profits did not meet expectation. You jump on here to talk about the worship of PlayStation that, you somehow maybe have. I don't know what it is. Let me not, conclude that. Instead of actually sticking with the topic that they themselves, Square Enix, are looking for medium to sell their games, to sell their titles, it has now become some kind of a competition for you to talk about so-called PlayStation. You also said that Xbox players don't buy games when the only platform of which the game is available was on your favorite platform and they didn't sell enough of it on that platform. You hopped over multiple ironic situations in order for you to be able to do this. You see, at some point, this has got to be comedy or this has got to be satire. I promise you guys, I think I'm being trolled. I think, people are actually, making, I think Xbox players, y'all are the ones, I'm going to blame the Series S. The Series S is making Xbox players create these accounts to try to troll me and make these outlandish, statements posing as PlayStation fans. That's probably the only way at this point that I'm going to be able to accept that people actually are doing this stuff. Or could it just be that, the pain is, in a sense, really heavy. And a lot of people have internalized these boxes and have made the boxes to become somewhat part of their identity in terms of gaming. This is different from, like, say, sports teams. In the case of sports teams, we've always kind of known, but metrics always kind of still told, though, with sports teams, and we accepted them because it's hard. A bunch of people kind of saw it in a sense, but now with, the gaming scene being very diverse and not everybody seeing everything, I think this is why people think they can say these kinds of things, they can lie and just run away and run rampant with them. So, ladies and gentlemen, exclusivity from the third party side is going to die. Sean Layden was very correct when he said that. He's the one CEO that's been on record saying that this is something that will really cause trouble for a lot of third-party publishers. Even the main first-party publishers, they have that challenge as well, because the addressable market continues to dwindle as more PlayStation and Xbox players continue to want to play Call of Duty. So Final Fantasy has tested and experimented, to this audience member of mine, let me just put it this way. Final Fantasy has tested and experimented with exclusivity. Rebirth, everybody was still enjoying the fun and games. It was a PS4 time, right? They were able to sell, I said Rebirth, Final Fantasy, Remake, the first one, was able to sell a good amount of copies, but then it started to dwindle down, and then Rebirth saw very minimal in terms of profits. They didn't bill PlayStation enough before going into such a deal. And then 16 basically was just a big challenge overall. And now it needs, PC to somewhat carry it. And they understand. This is why they already signaled it that they want to bring their games to Xbox. So you over here talking about this whole PlayStation thing, you're talking to wind, basically. Square Enix is in need of money. That's a company of that magnitude needs to be able to maintain its talent, needs to be able to maintain its IPs, to be able to maintain an edge and an advantage over other companies that are going to be competing with it. The game Clair Obscur, that game that's, a nice looking, turn-based JRPG, is coming very soon. More and more companies are encroaching on Square Enix's turf. That's basically the areas that they've always had expertise and they've kind of owned for the most part. And ladies and gentlemen, if they do not make a move, like get their games everywhere, that's the only move they can make. I mean, they can make games, but you have to sell them. And if they don't get those games to people's hands, even though it sells 500,000 copies on Xbox, I know for sure that that's something that's going to be profitable. To say that it's a waste of time and resources is just quite asinine, because in order for you to port to an Xbox console for a company like Square Enix that already has their pipeline, that already has their processes in place, that has development kits, that has API, that has Xbox support, that is just crazy, don't you think? Because again, that's why I asked the question, how much does a port cost? How much resources are you looking at? Because if Square Enix does not have its resource, pipeline in place, then it's in bigger trouble than we actually know. But we know that that's not true. They do have their resource pipelines in place. This is just a fanboy talking, just because they want to speak without paying any close attention to exactly what is going on. And for the most part, I think we have to point it out because this is a lot of fun. We really need to take the gloves off in these conversations. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you guys' time and audience. Have some other videos lined up for you guys. Thanks for your support. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Peace out.